A 50-year-old with 8 Truck Series wins, a Rolex 24 class victory, and nearly 13 years away from NASCAR competition, just signed up to race on a military runway next to 2 aircraft carriers. Brendan Gaughan didn't have to do this. He chose to. And the reason he gave might be the most genuinely refreshing thing you'll hear out of a NASCAR garage all season. This is what happens when the right event finds the right driver at exactly the right moment. Brendan Gaughan, age 50, will pilot the number 20 Bill McAnally Racing Chevrolet Silverado in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race at Naval Base Coronado on June 19, part of the historic first NASCAR event ever held on an active U.S. military installation in San Diego. This will be Gaughan's first NASCAR start of any kind since 2020 and his first Truck Series appearance since 2013. That's nearly 13 years away from the series where he made his biggest mark. South Point Hotel and Casino, the Las Vegas property connected to the Gaughan family, will sponsor the effort, making this a homecoming in more ways than one for the Los Angeles native with deep ties to the desert Southwest. Gaughan and team owner Bill McAnally have history together, and that relationship is what made this one-off possible. When Gaughan heard the Coronado race was happening, he called. McAnally said yes, and now one of the more decorated part-time racers in recent NASCAR history is suiting back up for a street course debut on a naval air base. Before you dismiss this as a celebrity one-off with no competitive relevance, let's establish who Brendan Gaughan actually is on a racetrack. In 217 Truck Series starts, he won 8 races, including a remarkable 6-win season in 2003 that announced him as one of the most dangerous drivers in the series at the time. He won back-to-back championships in what is now the ARCA West Series in 2000 and 2001, taking 8 wins across those 2 title runs. He has 67 Cup starts with a career-best 4th-place finish. And in 2011, he took a class victory at the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona in a Porsche GT3, which tells you he can adapt to any racing format placed in front of him. The road course dimension here is significant. Gaughan's 2 NASCAR O'Reilly Series victories both came on road courses, Road America and Kentucky in 2014. He is not a driver who struggles with technical non-oval layouts. He's precisely the kind of versatile, experienced racer who could show up to a brand new street circuit with 13 years off and still be a factor. Beyond the competitive picture, the cultural context matters just as much. The San Diego race is NASCAR's contribution to America's 250th birthday celebration. An event on a military base honoring the armed forces deserves participants who understand the weight of that setting. Gaughan's statement made clear this wasn't a business decision, it was a personal one. That distinction carries. Here's the question worth asking: is Brendan Gaughan actually competitive at Coronado, or is this purely ceremonial? The honest answer is somewhere in the middle, and the street course format actually tilts the odds more in his favor than most people would assume. Street circuits, by design, strip away the accumulated muscle memory that oval regulars build over hundreds of laps at the same tracks. Nobody in the Truck Series field has a single lap of experience at the Qualcomm circuit. When everyone is starting from zero on a brand new layout, the gap between a seasoned veteran and a young full-time driver narrows considerably. Gaughan's road course background, particularly those O'Reilly wins, is directly applicable to a 16-turn technical circuit with elevation changes and heavy braking zones. The physical side is the real unknown. 13 years is a long time. The Truck Series is not a gentleman's series. It is a full-contact, high-pressure environment where young drivers with nothing to lose will push every limit available to them. A 50-year-old who hasn't raced at this level since 2020 is going to feel the physical demands of a 3-4 mile street course within the first 20 laps. Neck load, grip strength, the sustained concentration required for a tight technical circuit, those things don't stay sharp without regular racing. What Gaughan brings that the field cannot replicate is composure. He has seen high-pressure racing situations across multiple disciplines in multiple decades. When the street course inevitably produces yellow flags, contact, and strategic chaos, and it will, the drivers who keep their heads in those moments gain positions. Gaughan has enough experience to be one of those drivers even if his outright pace isn't championship level. For Bill McAnally Racing, the upside is obvious. National visibility on a historic race weekend, strong sponsorship backing from South Point, and a driver with genuine name recognition among the older half of the NASCAR audience. The risk is minimal. This is a one-off with no points pressure or maximum story value. It is frankly a well-constructed entry on every level. The NASCAR community's reaction has been warm in a way that feels genuinely unforced, which in a sport where every story seems to generate at least two competing camps is worth noting. Fans who followed the Truck Series in the early 2000s remember Gaughan as a legitimate threat on race day, not a figurehead. The 6-win season in 2003 is not ancient history to that segment of the fan base. It is a very real part of what made the series worth watching during that era. Seeing him back in a Silverado at 50 triggers genuine nostalgia without the cynicism that often attaches to comebacks driven by commercial interests. The younger part of the NASCAR audience that doesn't know him yet will meet Gaughan through the story itself, and the story is a good one. A Las Vegas casino family heir who chose to race because he loved it, built a real résumé across multiple series, walked away, and then saw one event on the calendar that made him pick up the phone. That arc is easy to root for. The military community angle amplifies everything. Gaughan's stated reason for doing this, wanting to be part of an event that celebrates and recognizes the armed forces, lands differently than most sponsor-driven participation statements. It reads as sincere, and the San Diego military community will notice that. Best case, Gaughan shakes off the rust within the first practice session, finds the rhythm of the Coronado circuit faster than anyone expected, and runs inside the top 15 on race day. The broadcast picks up on his story. His road course instincts translate to the new layout, and he exits the Naval Base having reminded a generation of NASCAR fans exactly who he is. The moment becomes a genuine highlight of the Coronado weekend, not just a footnote, and it opens a conversation about whether Gaughan has interest in adding more select starts to his calendar. Worst case, 13 years away from the Truck Series is simply too long a gap to close in a race weekend on an entirely new circuit. Gaughan struggles with the physical demands, finds himself lapped by the front runners, and the result undercuts the goodwill of the entry. That outcome doesn't erase what he accomplished in his career. It does raise the uncomfortable question of whether this was the right vehicle for the comeback, and whether the street course format that seemed like an advantage on paper actually masked how sharp the full-time field has become since 2013. Brendan Gaughan is 50 years old, hasn't raced a truck in over a decade, and is about to drive one through a chicane next to an aircraft carrier on a military runway. The sport does not produce moments like this on a regular schedule. When it does, they tend to be worth watching. Here's the debate I want you to settle in the comments. Does a one-off return like this belong in NASCAR's biggest new event of the year, or should that grid space go to a young driver trying to build a career? Is Gaughan's experience and story an asset to the Coronado weekend, or does motorsport owe its marquee events to the next generation first? Drop your take below. And if NASCAR nostalgia and the stories that don't make the front page are your thing, subscribe, because that's exactly what we cover every single week. See you at the next one.